The NFL trade deadline is coming up on November 5th. Today is October 15th that I'm recording this. So in a few weeks, the NFL trade deadline will be coming up. And today, some big moves were made. The Bills were able to acquire Amari Cooper from the Browns. And all they had to give up was a third-round pick to, and they got back a 2025 sixth-round pick. So all they had to give up was a third-round pick to get Amari Cooper, who's a great receiver. Obviously, with Stephon Diggs and Gabe Davis leaving in the offseason, the Bills' wide receiver core was affected. It's basically Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, and Matt Collins. And that isn't gonna get you too far. They're leading the division right now with a 4-2 record, but then they get an upgrade with Amari Cooper, and he's gonna be the clear number one. And that's gonna be great because the Bills receiver core hasn't been playing bad this year, but it's not something that I think is capable of winning you a Super Bowl and getting you deep in the playoffs. But now with Amari Cooper, I think their chances improve a lot. And then the Browns, they aren't wasting Amari Cooper, and they also get a pick back, which could be valuable for them in the upcoming draft. So it's not a bad trade for the Browns either. This was a pretty good trade for both sides, but I do think the Bills come out as winners because they get Amari Cooper, who's going to drastically improve their offense. The next trade that was made was the Jets. Well, this trade happened before that, but the Jets acquired Devante Adams for the Raiders. The Jets gave up a third-round pick to the Raiders, and that's all they had to give up, surprisingly. And Devante Adams, he's still one of the best receivers in the league. He hasn't been able to show it because he's played with some bad quarterbacks the last few years. But now he'll be back reunited with Aaron Rodgers. But like I said a few days ago when I made the video about the Jets offense, it's bad. In the game against the Bills Monday night, they had a good first half. They scored 17. That was one of their best. That was probably their best first half of the year. But then in the second half, the offense went back to looking how it normally looked, and they only scored 3 points. So I do think Devante Adams will improve the offense, but Devante Adams isn't changing. The play calling is still bad. The offensive line is still bad. You started to establish your running game somewhat, but they have to be consistent. So I think it's a good move for the Jets, but I don't think it drastically improves them as a team. And Mike Williams, he'll probably be traded or cut after this trade can happen. And now you got to focus on Adams trying to build chemistry with everybody else. Then for the Raiders, they could have got a lot more, I feel like, for Devante Adams. I feel like they just kind of threw him away. And it was obvious they were going to trade him. I feel like you get more back if you trade him to the Saints, because I think you would get Rashid Shaheed and a pick back. But all they got in this case was a pick, so that's kind of concerning. But yeah, that's not. So the trade definitely doesn't help the Raiders, and for the Jets, it barely moves the needle when you really think about it, because this team, they still have a lot they need to work on. Then the last trade that was made today, the Vikings, they got Cam Akers from the Texans. They gave up a 2026 sixth-round pick, but I didn't expect this. The Texans, they get off Cam Akers and get a pick back, and they have a pretty deep running back room, so it makes sense. And he just had a few solid weeks when Joe Mixon and Damian Pierce were out, so he built up his value a little bit and was able to get the Texans a pick out of it. Don't think the Vikings really lost anything. I mean, it adds depth to their running back room. I think the trade works out on both sides. But these are the 3 moves that were made today. Like the Vikings and Texans trade, I like for both teams. The Browns and Bills like that trade for both teams. But when it comes to the Raiders and Jets, not really a fan of the move for either team. It'll help, but I don't know how much. Leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and let me know your thoughts on the trades that took place today.